Good day, everyone. I'm Kenneth Larin, the leader of Group 3, and I will be in charge in the opening remarks of this reporting. We're about to present to you the global interstate system. To formally start this report, here is Ms. Rica May Losada to report the global governance in 21st century.
Global governance in the 21st century. Factors behind the emergence of global governance, declining power of nation states, vast flow of all sorts of things that run in and open right through the borders of nation states. Another set of issues that has led to calls for global governance involves horrendous events within nation states that the state themselves either foment and carry out or are unable to control. Effects of globalization to governments. First, what is government? It is a group of people who have the ultimate authority to act on behalf of a state. Each state has its own right to self-determination, and other countries should not interfere in the affairs of the state unless there are extraordinary reasons to do so. The next topic is economic sovereignty that would be discussed by Mr. Ruby Rose Garcia.
Economic sovereignty. It is the power of national governments to make decisions independently of those made by other governments. Next slide. Neoliberalism. It is the intensification of the influence and dominance capital. Values market exchange capable of acting as a guide to all human action. It emphasizes the significance of contractual relations in the marketplace. Social good will be maximized by maximizing the reach and frequency market transaction. Next slide, please. Dilemma for local governments. A local government would like to attract major global investors in their community by setting up, for instance, their manufacturing firm in their area. This could generate jobs for local people and generate income for local businesses. However, it will entail convert tracts of agricultural lands into industrial zones. Farmers will be displaced and agricultural production of the area will be affected. Global corporation is also demanding lower taxes and lower income wage in order to finalize their investment in the area. They argue that they will create more jobs and more income from the local community and government. Next slide. Global economy demands the state to conform to the rules of free market capitalism. Next. State versus nation. A state is an independent political entity with clear geographic boundaries, while a nation is a large population that shares the same culture, language, traditions, and history. Next. Neoliberal economics, it focuses on free trade and dismantling trade barriers. It made sure that governments did not impose restrictive regulations on corporate presence as well as on the free flow of capital jobs. Next. Free trade. It is the ideal or the normative belief that is the best economy is one where there is free trade everywhere. Let me introduce the next reporter, Miss Arafiel Garcia, for the relevance of the state amid globalization.
The relevance of the state amid globalization. Permanent population. This population does not refer to a nomadic people that move from one place to another in an indefinite time. No state can be imagined without the people, as there must be some rule and others to be ruled. This permanent presence in one location is strengthened by the second element of a state, defined territory. Next. Territory. A territory has a clear boundaries. The territory comprises land, mountains, rivers, lakes within its frontier. It is effectively controlled by the third element, government. Next. Government. The government regulates relations among its own people and with other states. This means that the state is a formal constituted sovereign political structure encompassing people, territory, and its institutions on the one hand, and maintaining its autonomy from other states on the other hand. Next. Nation refers to a people rather than any kind of formal territorial boundaries or institutions. A nation has been defined as a cultural political community that has become conscious of its autonomy, unity, and particular interests. It is a collective identity grounded on a nation of shared history and culture. Next. State. It is a distinctive political community with its own set of rules and practices, and that is more or less separate from other communities. It is an organized political community living under a single system of government. According also to Gardner, a state is a community of persons, more or less numerous, permanently occupying a definite portion of territory independent of external control and possessing an organized government to which the great body of inhabitants render habitual obedience. Now, let me introduce Mr. Kenneth Larin. He will discuss the factors that facilitate economic globalization.
Thank you, Ara. These are the factors that facilitate economic globalization. Number one, historical. The trade routes were made over the years so that the goods from one kingdom or country moved to another. The well-known Silk Route from east to west is an example of historical factor. Next slide. Number two is economy. The cost of goods and values to the end user determine the movement of goods and value addition. The overall economics of a particular industry or trade is an important factor of globalization. Next. Number three, resources and markets. The natural resources like minerals, coal, oil, gas, human resources, and water make an important part of and contribution in globalization. Next, number four. Production issues. Utilization of built-up capacities of production, sluggishness in domestic market, and overproduction makes a manufacturing company look outward and go global. The development of overseas markets and manufacturing plants in autos, four-wheelers, and two-wheelers is a classic example. Next, number five. Political. Political issues of a country makes globalization channelized as per political bosses. The regional trade understandings or agreements determine the scope of globalization. European Union and special agreement in the Israel Soviet bloc and SARRC are examples. Next, number 6, mechanical association. The technological development in the areas of production, product mix, and firms are helping organizations to expand their operations. The hiring of services and procurement of sub-assembles and components having a strong influence in the globalization process. The, the innovative improvement in the zones of generation, item blends, and firms are helping associations to extend their tasks. Next. Number 7 and last is technology. The state of technology in a particular field gives rise to import or export of products or services from or to the country. European countries like England and Germany exported their chemical, electrical, mechanical plants in 50s and 60s and exports high-tech goods to underdeveloped countries. Today, India is exporting computer, software, services to advanced countries like UK and USA. And after we know the factors that facilitate economic globalization, we must know what is the difference between globalization and globalism. Here is Ms. Juliet Gregorio to take place with that.
Globalization and globalism. What is globalization? Next. Globalization is a process that changes our current social condition based on the modern system of independent nation state. We can simply define globalization as the spread of technology, products, information, and jobs across nations. It is characterized by the interconnection of local, private, and public market in one global arena. With respect to the globally accepted rules, globalization also leads to interaction among various populations, greater exchange of values and ideas among various cultures, and create trend toward the development of single world culture. Next. Globalism. Globalism is the ideological component of globalization. The ideology is based on the belief that people, information, and goods should be able to cross borders unrestricted. Globalism can also refer to a socio-economic system that is dedicated to free trade and free access to markets. Next. So what is the difference between globalization and globalism? The main difference between globalism and globalization is that the globalism is an ideology based on the belief that people, information, and goods should be able to cross national borders unrestricted, while the globalization is the spread of technology, products, information, and jobs across nations. So for the continuation of our reporting, here is John Ernest Hipolito to report the informationalism.
Informationalism. Next. Globalization would be better described as the increase or decline in a degree of globalism, while globalism refers to the network of connections that transcends distances of different countries in the world. It simply refers to the connection of people to one another, whether as a small community or as a large community. Information is a specific part of globalism which interconnected in terms of information from the different areas around the world. Informationalism is a mode of development of modern society that is structured and based on information technology. Unlike the Industrial Revolution, the information technology age is no longer based on the material goods produced in factories, but rather on the service and knowledge works, trading and extracting value out of knowledge and disseminating information through our network society. Next. Computer technology is used to check our health through the invention of magnetic resonance imaging, ultrasound, and CT scans. Space-based technologies were also made possible through the use of computers. Due to the constant development of knowledge, information, and technology, there's a lot of things that made possible. With the use of computer technology, it is easier now to analyze and examine the health status of a person. It is easier also to provide the proper health assistance to a patient because we have the different technological instrument and devices now. And also, because of computer technology, space-based technologies became possible. Example of it is satellites. Satellites is used in strengthening our communication for surveillance system, and it provides the most accurate weather reports. In the new media age, Marshall McLuhan, a Canadian philosopher, and Quentin Fiore agreed that the importance lies in the medium, the way in which the message is transmitted, not necessarily in the content presented to the medium. McLuhan and Fiore believe that the medium like television, radios, newspapers, and different internet platforms can influence on how the message is perceived and interpreted. But McLuhan and Fiore is not ignoring the importance of the message itself. They just wanted to portray the idea that the medium contributes a lot in understanding the message. And also, in the information technology age, the internet is a mark of the contemporary world. This is a worldwide communication network that provides a variety of information that anyone can be involved because almost everything now is being done online or through internet, especially the communication between people. And for the next topic that we introduce to you, Ms. Daniela Mananghaya, she will discuss about global citizenship.
So let's talk about global citizenship. But first, let me define what citizenship is. It is associated with rights and obligations. Let's say, for example, the right to vote and the obligation to pay taxes. Both right and obligation link the individual to state. It has something to do with the behavior or attitude. We need to be willing to engage and to give our effort to the community because we are part of it. Community is regarded as a local. But the question is, how can be the idea of citizenship be linked or transferred to the global level? Now, global citizenship is not the same as globalization because globalization is the process by which organizations develop international influence or operated on an international scale. This is driven by economics, business, and money. Global citizenship, on the other hand, is driven by identity and values. Global citizens builds bridges, mitigate risks, and safeguard humanity. So global citizenship helps bridge the gaps and rectify realities, and global citizens are its ambassador. Doing this is not only about mindset. It is about action, lifestyle, and building connections over time. Global citizen is someone who is aware of the wider world and has a sense of their role as a world citizen, respect and values diversity, and is willing to act to make the world a more equitable and sustainable place. And also, it is someone who takes responsibility of their actions. Most developing countries are in the process or already manage converge with those already developed, and yet there are countries that have been excluded from this process. These are the countries that from the bottom billion. What is bottom billion? It's the minority of 58 countries concentrated in Africa and Central Asia. Where about 1 billion people live, the economies have been stagnating for more than 40 years. So instead of converging the other countries, they moving further and further away, creating this huge current divergence. This country cannot get out of the situation on their own because they are one of the several poverty traps which are difficult to overcome. We can understand them as a series of difficulties so that cause the lack of capacity to grow and stagnation of their economies. That's all for the global interstate system. We hope you've learned a lot about our topic. Thank you.